Hey guys, welcome to the installation guide or the installation video for the ZALMAN Z3 Plus White. I'm going to walk you through all the steps required, pretty basic stuff really, but I know a lot of people like to see how things get built into some of these cases, and especially I like to be able to show you if I run into any problems or if there's anything that's maybe unique about this particular case or any of the others that we review. I like to always show you that, and so we'll get started on the video here and we'll go through step by step, putting in all the components, and we'll see what we get from there. Alright guys, welcome to the installation guide for the ZALMAN Z3 Plus White. I'm going to get right into it. I've already got it all stripped down from the review. Hope you're joining us from that, and just want to jump right in and show you guys. Obviously the first thing we want to do is remove this bracket for the extra long graphics card support. That's a pretty nice feature and it comes out pretty simply. Just a couple of screws at the top and the bottom, and then you can have that out of the way so that you have full access to the motherboard tray and room to get in there and get everything set up. First thing I'm going to do obviously is go ahead and drop the power supply into the bottom and get it mounted, and so that I can run some of my cables around the back, and then I'm going to add in the motherboard liftoffs for that motherboard tray. You can't really see there, but it only has 6. I need to put in the other 3 for a full-size ATX. And then I'm going to be taking the rear exhaust fan out and really just going to set it aside for now, because I'm going to be using that for the AIO little cooling radiator, and it's going to have a push-pull system on there, so I've already got the fans for that. And since there's no fan slot in the bottom or anything like that to use this on, I'm not going to use it currently. Now the one drawback that I've noticed, I would like to normally put the radiator just at the top or something like that, but if you look inside there, you can see these fans are mounted using the screws that come with it. I don't have one handy, or I'd show you, but they're mounted pretty solidly. I would have to actually drill and modify the case to use the screws for the AIO, which would go through a fan, through the case, and then through a fan and into the radiator itself. These screw holes are too small, so I have to use the screw holes that are in the back. It's got these larger, lost my screwdriver. It's got these larger screws that are designed to go into the plastic shroud of the fan, and you can see when I pull that out, that leaves plenty of room for a larger screw to go in through the case, through a fan, and then into the radiator. So that's what we will be doing. Alright guys, you can see I have everything pretty much ready to go. I've got my motherboard with the CPU cooler already ready right there. I've dropped the power supply in place, but I have not screwed it down yet. I can do that anytime. I have the liftoffs for the motherboard in place and I'm ready to go. I'm just going to snap in the rear panel kind of IO shield, which turns out is not even on screen. You can't even see it, but you get the point. And then we just drop in the motherboard from there. I say drop, obviously I mean gently place. So anyway, once you have the motherboard in place and you have your liftoffs and your holes lined up as best you can, you'll be able to just screw it down, which I'm going to cut away and do that real fast. You guys don't want to watch me screw 9 screws. And we'll be right back. Alright, once you've got everything screwed down, pretty much only one last thing to do is going to be or just a couple last things to do. Just getting this radiator in place with the fan inside there. And so you can see we'll just curve that around here like so, adjusting your hoses as needed. Alright guys, this is exactly why we do an installation video, things like this. I want to point out at least for a full-size ATX motherboard, and I'm pretty sure any size motherboard is going to be the same because they're all going to start across those top three screws, so that the rear panel input-output lines up correctly. They're all going to cover this hole. It has a hole here for the 8-pin CPU or 4-pin CPU power, but it covers it, and you really can't even get it in there. I've been fiddling with it for quite a few minutes, and I feel like I could kind of force it, but I'm worried I don't want to damage the motherboard, of course. So what I'm probably going to end up having to do is actually take the motherboard back out, feed the wire through there, because obviously the wire is thinner than the connector. So I can feed the wire through there and then leave it in there while I reinstall the motherboard. So that's what we're about to try, and that's just, like I say, one of the things that I like to show you guys. Any little problems or any little details that need to be covered for these particular cases. If this had literally 3 more millimeters, or another 1/4 inch, then everything would be perfect. So at least as far as that part goes. Either way, we'll be back with the rest of the build. Alright, I finally got that CPU power cord back through there the way it's supposed to be. Took a pretty decent little bit of finagling, but it really wasn't too bad. And then of course you can see here I have that AIO mounted in place. It's not too hard. Pretty simple to put in there. And another thing that they've made pretty easy, you can see the difference. Let me set the drive out of the way. You can see the difference and it's labeled also in the L for left. Let me get them in there. And the R for the right for the HDD. And you can see that that's going to just clip right in. Just like that. And then one on the other side. And then you can see where that's just going to slide right in here, like so, and snap in place. And then we can come back up top here, where we're going to have the optical drive. And I will go ahead and put the top panel and the front panel back on so that I can get those knockouts taken out and get the optical drive in place, and we'll be right back. Alright, here we are. You can see I have the front cover taken out of there, and I have the little clip open on the side, and you can see how easy this is. You slide in your optical drive, get it just about flush, and you can look on the side. I'll turn it a little, and you can see that the screw holes line right up. And you clip it in place, and you're done. So that's that easy for the optical drive. And of course, if you really want, on the other side, if you really want to make it more stable, you can go ahead and toss in a couple screws. I don't usually find it necessary. Usually these toolless clips are quite secure. And then you can see the last thing to do, now that we have everything in place, is just going to be clean up the cables, plug everything in, and we're good to go. Now remember, this case has the fan control, so the first thing I'm going to connect is this Molex and these two fan controllers to these top fans. I'm going to just set those out of the way for now and plug all the basics in and get it up and running, and we'll be back with the rest of the review. Now that the build is complete, you can see it was a pretty simple case to build in. The cable management is going to be a little bit tight on the back side, I'm afraid. We'll get back to that here in a moment once I actually start cleaning up the cables. Everything went in easily. The only problem I had was that 8-pin CPU that I showed you guys, but that's something that's actually pretty easily solved by planning ahead and pulling that cable through prior to putting the motherboard in place. Normally that's not needed. Normally the hole, and I saw that there was a hole, so I assumed it would be enough to get it in there, but it was not. I had to actually pull the top few screws off the motherboard and kind of pull on it to get it through there. But would have been much easier to just pull the wire through first and then put the motherboard in place after the cabling was through there. Alright, so the last thing to do now, you can see we have everything in place. Obviously just putting in the graphics card, pretty simple. I just unclipped the, or unsnapped the little clip for the first PCIe 16 slot. And of course I did already break out the expansion slot tabs. Those just snap right out. And kind of gently get it in place. And then push it in till it clicks. Simple as that. And toss in a couple of thumb screws. Thumb screw or not, my thumb doesn't fit in there very easily. I always hold it up to the top, get it tight, get it in place. And then the main reason I'm really taking a good look at this is because this ZALMAN Z3 Plus White comes with the brace, the bracket here, which is going to help support the graphics card to keep it from sagging. You can see, even though this graphics card has a really nice back plate and everything, it does have some sag. I mean, if maybe you don't see it so well in the video, but it definitely hangs at a little bit of a slope. So we have the brace here. It fits right in. Screws in place. And the other purpose that this bracket serves, and I'll take a look at that real fast, especially since I pulled out the rear exhaust fan and replaced it with the AIO, so now I have the extra ZALMAN fan. One thing we can do with that, and I don't think we really need to, but it's something that's, you know, worth looking into. I could mount that, and you look at the direction of the airflow on the side. You know, obviously most people realize that it always blows towards the back. So in this case I would mount it something like this, and you can just screw that right in place. It has those screw holes. It's designed to be able to hold you an extra fan in place to blow it towards your GPU, or just to move air around in there some more. But maybe this large 100, or not really large, but this 120 millimeter fan, you might be better off with a 90 or 100 millimeter fan. Or if you had, like I said, smaller components. Of course, the main business that this serves is supporting the graphics card. So that's as simple as just sliding that up so that it holds it in place, tightening it down, and that's just, now that's the easiest thing you're going to do all day. Alright guys, so we just wrapped up all the installation and component build in the ZALMAN Z3 Plus White, and you were able to see that most things went in pretty easily. Most of it's pretty simple, you know, just plug it in and go. But I did have the one problem that I showed you with the 8-pin CPU plug, or the 4-pin, whichever you use for your particular motherboard. If you don't put that through first, if you don't put that through the back of the motherboard panel before you install the motherboard itself, you're probably going to have a little bit of trouble getting it in there. That's a pretty minor thing, not that big a deal. Everything else went off without a hitch. Everything else works perfectly, and overall pretty happy with the build and with the ease of installation for the ZALMAN Z3 Plus. We will of course incorporate that into the full review. And we appreciate you watching. Once again, I'm Steve Cox with High Tech Legion. Y'all have a great day, and come and check out our reviews.